Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. And unfortunately, once again, we have to start the show with sad news. A good friend of mine, Bobby Beeman, passed away recently. He was not only my good friend, but he was a good friend to many in the horror collecting community, especially if you were a member of the Universal Monster Army. You might remember an administrator named Toy Ranch. That was Bobby. His online name was Toy Ranch. Bobby was very active as an administrator in the UMA during the early 2000s up until just before the COVID era. Bobby and I collaborated on the Universal Monster Army's traveling toy museum, or the UMA Toy Tour. Bobby wore many hats, but he was especially responsible for anything to do with Don Post Studios. So if you ever saw the UMA exhibit at a convention and you saw vintage Don Post masks, chances are those came out of Bobby Beeman's collection. He had an amazing toy collection, particularly an amazing Don Post collection. Eventually, he liquidated that collection, so many of those grail pieces that he owned are now in other collections. Bobby died January 30th, 2026, of heart failure. He had been sick for a while, at least all of his friends understood that he had been in poor health for a while, and he had gone radio silent for a few years. We hadn't heard from him in a long time, and we were wondering what was going on. Some of us had tried to contact him and had not heard back, so we were wondering if he was even alive much earlier than his actual death. Recently, he popped back up unexpectedly, and he was online saying, "Hi guys, I'm still here." And we were all very pleasantly surprised. And I thought maybe his health would improve, and maybe he was hoping to, with this reemergence, to get back in the swing of things and get back into the hobby and reconnect with his friends. And that's probably what he was intending, but it wasn't meant to be. So just as we were surprised to hear from him again after some years of no contact, we were saddened to hear that he was gone. My heart goes out to Bobby's family, his wife, Virginia, and his son, Nicholas, his daughter-in-law, Brittany, and his granddaughter, Allison, and his mother is also still alive, Suzanne. So my heart goes out to all of them. Bobby lived in Dallas, Texas. He was a musician and a small business owner. He ran a store called Texas Guitar Ranch. In addition to his online toy sales under the name Toy Ranch, his guitar shop was also called Texas Guitar Ranch. So he had a thing about that ranch theme whenever he was selling stuff. He had also been a restaurant owner, and he had a lot of stories to tell about his days running a restaurant and dealing with the customers in that restaurant. But outside the toy community, he's best known for being the bass player in the punk rock band Stick Men with Ray Guns. And if you've never heard of Stick Men with Ray Guns, rest assured that in certain circles, they're very famous. They have quite a following. It's a cult following, but nevertheless, it is definitely a following. And he was with that band from approximately 1981 or 82 until 1988. And for a long time, I think that was like a past life for him. And in more recent years, there was a resurgence of interest in that old band. And I remember talking to him about how people were interested in what he had done so many years before and what that felt like. One of their songs was used in a TV show or something, and he was very excited about that. And I think they were putting out some kind of a new release of their old recordings. So it was like an old life that was dormant had sprung back to life. And I remember being at a convention talking to him about that. He was very, very enthusiastic about that. Bobby was always the voice of reason. We admired him for his very calm, rational nature. He was very logical. He didn't like drama. I don't like drama either, although I always seem to be mired in drama. But he did not like drama any more than I do. And he had a knack for assessing a situation and summing it up and then delivering his analysis. And he would always clear his throat. And we knew when he cleared his throat, that meant, okay, he's about to give you his take on the situation. And it was going to be the definitive take. So we all valued his judgment, so much so that the rare times when he was emotional or somewhat irrational about something, it scared us, it frightened us, like, oh my gosh, if Bobby's emotional about this, this must really be something. This must be Armageddon. This is apocalyptic. If Bobby is getting kind of irrational, whoa, hold on, this is the end of the world. Because he almost never was. He was always very even-keeled, very rational, very logical, almost Sherlockian in his very straight approach to everything, and very analytical. And we appreciated that quality in him. But despite that outwardly dispassionate nature, he had passions. He could be very passionate about certain topics that were important to him, and that would come out sometimes. And I think the cultural, political scene of recent years really depressed him based on things he had said online. And I think that's part of why he went radio silent for a few years. And I think he just had to tune that out. I didn't ask him that point blank, but that's my assessment of why he sort of went quiet. And he was also dealing with some health issues, obviously. I was talking to Dan Roebuck after Bobby died. Dan called me. Some of Bobby's friends were calling each other and talking to each other about this. And it seems like I got a special treat in a way, according to what Dan said, because I had a very close experience with Bobby a little bit after most other people had lost contact with him. And I didn't realize that I was sort of privileged in that regard until talking to Dan about this. In, I think it was 2019, late 2019, I went to the Fouke Monster Festival in Fouke, Arkansas, and I was staying in Texarkana in a hotel. And there was a terrible storm. My flight out of there got canceled. It was a weekend festival. It was over. I had to go back to work, get back to Missouri. I had flown there. The flight was canceled. I drove in a rented car. I drove from Texarkana to Dallas overnight to get to the Dallas airport, thinking I could catch a flight from Dallas back to St. Louis. Well, the storm was so bad that all the flights in Dallas were canceled too. When I got there, I found that out. So I was stranded in Dallas. It was late at night. I was in the airport. I didn't know what to do. I called my dad. I went online. I went on Facebook, and I posted about my plight on Facebook just to see if anyone had any ideas, because I didn't know where I was going to go. All the hotels were booked up because so many people were in the same boat with all the flights canceled. Every hotel near the airport was all booked up. So I posted my plight online on Facebook, and Bobby saw that, and he got hold of me, Now, by then, I had just found an acceptable hotel that was not too far from the airport. It wasn't cheap, but at least I just wanted someplace to stay for the night. So I had already arranged that, and Bobby got hold of me. I don't remember if he texted me or if he was communicating over Facebook or what, but he said I could spend the night with him. Well, at that point, I'd kind of already settled at the hotel. So I said, no, thank you for offering, but I'm going to stay at this hotel. But thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Well, it turned out I was in Texarkana for a couple of days. This storm really just did a number on the flights, and everything was just grounded. And Bobby contacted me the next morning and said, come hang out with me. You can stay at my music shop, the Texas Guitar Ranch, and we can hang out and I'll show you around town. So he came pick me up, and I spent the day in his shop. And I don't know if it was the same day or the next day, but he drove me around Dallas, and he showed me all the sights and pointed out the historic significance of different buildings. We drove past the site where Kennedy was assassinated, and he pointed out the grassy knoll and any other buildings or anything that had some local significance. He would drive around and point them out. So I got a nice tour of Dallas, and we had dinner. I think it was at a pizza place, and we talked about our feelings on various James Bond actors, and we agreed Sean Connery was the best, and Daniel Craig was probably second best. And that was our conversation. We talked a little bit about the economy and some political talk, and then he got me back to my hotel, and it was a nice little visit. It was a nice visit with Bobby. And that was the last time I ever really talked to him, certainly in person. The last time I heard his voice in person. And it was after that he sort of went completely silent. And apparently, I was lucky to get that experience because not a lot of other people by then had that kind of contact with him. And so that was a bad situation with the storm and being grounded, but it gave me a nice final memory of Bobby, and really got to spend some time with him and talk about stuff that wasn't really toy related, and didn't have the pressure of trying to set up a display at a show or something like that. And it was a nice experience. It was a nice, pleasant, well, I didn't know at the time would be a final experience, but a nice, pleasant final memory of spending time with Bobby. So he was a good guy, very important to our hobby. A couple episodes ago, we talked about Bob Burns, who passed away in December, and how important he was. Bobby wasn't a historic figure like Bob Burns. No one's going to write books about Bobby the way they wrote books about Bob Burns. But in his own way, I think he was, to a certain circle, as influential, maybe more influential. He certainly had a big impact. His days with the UMA, I was an administrator at the UMA, and so was he, and what we did with that group, and the toy tour, and a lot of other things. He had a lot of impact, perhaps on a smaller circle, but a big impact. And that's not even counting his musical impact, which I'm not a aficionado of punk rock, but apparently that band was very important, very influential, and has a huge following. So that's a whole other world that I don't really even know very much about. But there's people out there that it's like, Bobby Beeman, stick me with ray guns. Oh my gosh. They know him from that. And so, he has a fandom through that. So a very important man, very influential man. And I hope his family is recovering as best as anyone can. And I hope they're going to be doing well in the years to come. And I hope I'll see them. Another thing I was talking to Dan about, we're hoping to do some kind of a gathering probably at Mask Fest. I don't even know if there's going to be a Mask Fest this year. I'm assuming there will be. Probably in September. But that's all kind of up in the air. But we're going to try to do some kind of gathering to honor Bobby, to remember Bobby. Probably not like a public thing. It's probably going to be a private thing, but it's still up in the air. Hopefully, I would like to do that. I would like to have some kind of formal remembrance among his monster buddies. And he really liked Mask Fest, and I attended Mask Fest with him many times. So I'll be looking forward to that. I haven't gone to a convention since the Falk convention. That was the last one, or maybe Mask Fest that same year, 2019. So since COVID, I haven't gone to any conventions. That was a former part of my life that got left behind, and so if I do this would be the first time I would go to any sort of a horror convention or anything like that since then. Well, I don't know how I'm going to edit all that, because it was a lot of starts and stops, and as you might imagine. But now, 2 hours into this, let's get into the reason we're here. And if you're new to the channel and you thought, well, I thought we were going to talk about monster toys. What's all this stuff? This show, yes, it's the basement of horror, but it's like my world. This is the world of Raymond Castile. This is what's going on in my life. So yes, we'll talk about toys, but I'll also tell you about what's going on. You might want to update on my cat Billy. He's doing better. He had a rough winter. He often does. But he's been coming out of that in the past week. Knock on IKEA particle wood. He's been doing much better, and I hope he continues doing better. My cat Billy is medically fragile, so I'm always stressing about Billy. But he's been very comfy and relaxed, and all systems seem to be functioning normally with him. So hopefully that will stay that way. He every year he gets sick right before Halloween, like September, October, and then again right after Christmas, like January, right on schedule every year. I don't know why. Probably something environmental, who knows. But sure enough, it happened again this year, and it was like a 6-week ordeal, and now hopefully he's on his way out of that, and he'll be fine, I hope, through the spring and summer, and then in the fall I'll have to deal with another episode, I'm sure, in the fall. So life is an adventure with my little Billy, but I love him, and he's worth it. He's worth all the trouble. Okay, gotta drink when I say okay. Well, let's break for a second and watch a word from our sponsor.
Kids, come meet your new sitter. Looks like a good time to check out Burger King. Yeah! Nice costume. I'm so scared.
Universal Studios monsters are on the loose. You can get one toy and glow-in-the-dark sticker inside every Kids Club meal at Burger King.
Wow, really nice costume. Burger King Kids Club. Great food, cool stuff, kids only.
Oh, we're back. Well, as you might have noticed, that was an ancient sponsor, not really a sponsor. That was a vintage commercial for one of the toy lines we're going to talk about. Fast food monster premiums from Burger King and Jack in the Box. Let's look at one of these things. Finally, we're going to see a toy. Here we go. This will do. It's a box. I said just a box. No, there's something in there. It's a Wolfman. Yay! finally a monster? That's what we're going to talk about. Universal monsters. And everything we're going to talk about, we're going to show 3 different lines. 3 different toy lines, but all of them are licensed Universal monsters. First, let's go over these Burger King monsters. Now, there are lots of videos about these things. Not so much the Jack-in-the-Box ones, but there are lots of videos about these Burger King monsters. So it's not like you're seeing something you've never seen before. And I'm struggling trying to get this little guy on his peg hooks because he has a little action feature. Yeah, he's a little hard to get on there, but there he is. It's not like this is something you've never heard of before or something terribly rare. It's not. It's not. But it's fun, and we might as well cover it. This is what happens when you... I sound like Hooper. This is what happens. If you twist this... it's like Nosferatu coming up out of his coffin. And back here he's got a little full moon illustration. What is this weird box he's coming out of? It's supposed to be cellar doors, like like an underground cellar, a cellar of horror. And these doors, now let's see if I can get out of this thing. These cellar doors are like, it would be behind the house, like here's the the house, here's the backyard maybe, and then you have these cellar doors. You've seen these in movies. They're usually much wider, of course, but that's the idea. He's coming up out of a cellar. Because the moon is full, as we saw in the illustration. He doesn't really do anything. I think originally he glowed in the dark, but now he doesn't have that. If he ever did glow, he doesn't glow anymore. I did try it out, and I didn't see any glow. But I think when he was new, he did have some glow power. It's a Star Wars, Kenner Star Wars style 5-point articulation. Very Kenner-esque. Actually, more like Adventure People, Fisher-Price Adventure People. It reminds me more of that, the Adventure People, than anything else. This would have been awesome to have in the 70s with the Adventure People. He's more compatible with the Adventure People than, let's say, the Remco 1980 mini monsters. Those were cool, but those were, I don't know. I mean, I like those more than this, but this is really... It could have been, if Fisher-Price had a Universal license and made monsters with the Adventure People, this is what it would have looked like. They would have looked like this. So it's really cool. These are obviously fast food premiums. Let's get them all out here. Now, should I give you an overview of everything and then look at these, or bore you with more talk, or should I? How should I do this? Let's figure it out. We're going to look at 3 toy lines. Here is what the Wolfman originally looked like in his package. They came in these little baggies with that Universal Monsters blood spatter, just like the Sideshow toys. That was the era for the blood spatter, or spatter, whatever you want to call it. And then there was this beautiful artwork in there. It looks nice, doesn't it? And there's also a glow-in-the-dark sticker that you can't see in this one, but we'll see it in some other ones. So it was a nice little package all together. I mean, nice artwork on the bags, and it came in a kids meal. Let's see, it was called the Kids Club Hamburger Meal, and they cost $1.99. $1.99. And I don't have any of those boxes, but they're really nice looking boxes. Cardboard box, full box. And it had that image, like this artwork for each character, only big on the side of the box. And it had your food in there, and it had one of these monsters. And they put out one character per week during the month of October in the year 1997. 1997. That's when these things came out. Now, what else happened in 1997? The United States Postal Service put out those Universal Monsters postage stamps. And we did a whole episode on the postage stamps and everything connected to those postage stamps. Those postage stamps were a big deal, surprisingly. They were not only directly related to the postage stamps, there were a lot of pieces of merchandise directly related to them. But the Hasbro 12-inch monsters came out because of those. These came out because of those. And then Sideshow responded to all that by acquiring the Universal license and putting out the whole series of Sideshow toys. So those postage stamps sparked a whole new era of monster mania in the United States. You wouldn't think postage stamps would have that big of an impact, but they did. I mean, they were like what the Aurora models were in the 60s, sparking that whole monster craze. Those postage stamps sparked this little, or not so little, monster craze at the end of the 90s and carrying over into the 2000s. The postage stamps did that. Universal was marketing the monsters on VHS, but that was earlier. That was underway before the postage stamps. So these Burger King monsters really were part of that postage stamp monster craze. And it's kind of reflected in the character selection and the artwork. There were 4 characters, and they all had cute little names. Like Wolfman was Cellar Dweller Wolfman, and Dracula was Down for the Count Dracula. Frankenstein was Bolts and Volts Frankenstein. The creature was Scaly Squirter Creature, but they didn't name him exactly the same way. They called him the Scaly Squirter featuring the creature from the Black Lagoon. So I don't know why he had that awkward name. The other ones were just like Cellar Dweller Wolfman, Down for the Count Dracula, but creature was Scaly Squirter featuring the creature from the Black Lagoon. So that was kind of strange. Some people have speculated that the creature might have been a late addition to the line, that maybe originally it was just supposed to be Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, and then as kind of an afterthought they made the creature because he's very different from any of the other characters. Different scale. He's I was going to say he's 5-point articulation, but he's not. I think he's 4 points. His head doesn't move. So different articulation. He doesn't have a lagoon home to come up out of. He has an action feature that's part of the toy itself, where you press his stomach and he squirts water, which is why he's the Scaly Squirter. So it's been speculated that maybe the creature was designed after the rest. It was sort of a late addition. Also, he's not listed on the packaging for the other ones when it says collect them all. It talks about Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, but doesn't mention the creature. So that's kind of a mystery as to why the creature seems like the odd one out. And since we're talking about the creature, here's a bag creature. Very dramatic visual there. You can't see a thing. That's what it looks like. On the other side, that's the artwork that came with them. I'd love to have a kids meal or kids club meal box with a creature on it. Now, this opened package, and by the way, I bought all of these in 1997 when they were brand new. So I went to Burger King every week, and I don't know what order these came out in, but every week I went to Burger King and I bought one of those kids meals. I don't think I ate it. I think I threw the food away, but But, I think that you could have bought the figures separately, so maybe that's what I did. But I bought these figures, and I bought 2 of each, and I opened one and kept the other sealed, which is what I have here. So these loose ones, if they look a little dusty on camera, to the naked eye they look okay, but maybe on camera you can see some dust. They've been out in the open for 30 years collecting dust. They've been on a shelf collecting dust. I dusted them before shooting this, but they probably still have sort of a dusty look. There's the Creatures card that comes with that inside that package. And there's the glow sticker. So each character has a sticker like that. And that sticker glows in the dark. Can I get this out of here? Yeah. And that's what the instructions look like. I'm not going to be demonstrating these things on this episode. So the ones that squirt water, there's a couple of creatures that squirt water. You're not going to see me squirting water on here. And there's some that make noise or light up. Their batteries are long dead, so you're not gonna see them light up or make noise because the batteries are dead. So don't expect a lot of action. I'm just going to be holding these up and showing them to you. And if you need a reason to stick around, I will be opening some sealed toys. You don't see that very often on this show, but I will be opening some sealed toys before we're all said and done, because the final set of these, I have 2 sets. One is sealed and the other is sealed. That's not going to work, so I'm going to have to open them to show them to you. Let's take a look at this creature. Why is he translucent like that? I don't know. He does not light up. He never... Well, I don't know if maybe he was designed originally to light up. That could be, but the final version certainly does not light up. He just squirts water out of his mouth. But he's a nice creature toy, and I've seen these painted. I've seen paint ups on all of these things, like more detailed paint jobs on all of these characters, and they do look nice when painted. Is he in focus? There we go. They look nice painted, but I like them in the original form. They're toys. They're not models. They're toys. And they're retail quality toys. I mean, they're not what you'd expect for a freebie, for a kids meal premium. They're very well made. They're every bit as well made as the Adventure People. They're more solidly made than the Remco figures, which are they seem a little more fragile perhaps. And they're much better made, I think, in terms of durability and playability than Super 7. We forget that. I wouldn't give a Super 7 figure to a kid to play with, but you could sure give these things to a kid to play with. They'd be just fine. Let's look at Frankenstein. That's the sealed Frankenstein. That's what he looked like when you pulled him out of the kids' meal box. And now here's the open Frankenstein. His head and hands are very much like the creature. They're translucent. But he has a really good likeness, a nice Karloff likeness. In fact, it could be the best Karloff likeness of any small format Frankenstein figure. I think it's better than... I definitely like the Remcos, but it's more of a likeness than the Remcos. It's more of a actor likeness, I think, and probably more than anything Super 7 has made. I don't know if he's really focusing. It's probably hard to focus on that plastic. That translucent plastic. Unfortunately, he has a green jacket. It's kind of gray, kind of green, greenish gray. This was the era of the green jacket. And you still see green jacket Frankensteins. To this day, the curse continues. That's some nice artwork. That's what it looks like on the back. It's got these characters. Inside. Does it say just collect the other three? Collect Dracula and the Wolfman, who fit on this table as well. So Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, they each say collect those three characters. They don't say collect the creature, which have led some people to speculate maybe the creature wasn't originally included and he was added at the last minute. Let's see if we can put this together. It comes with a little lab table. It's in pieces. It doesn't light up anymore. It originally did. There's his little lab table. And it does look like a Universal Studios Frankenstein lab table, like the ones you would see in the first two movies, the 1931 Frankenstein and 1935 Bride of Frankenstein. It does look like those. And he has a little light that's supposed to make his head shine. That's what he looks like on his lab table. It's a nice little accessory, actually. I mean, Remco monsters, they had the monster riser, but something like this would have been nice. Just a simple little table like that. It's too bad these didn't coexist with the Remcos, the Remco monsters, because, or the adventure people. Again, I think these are better companions to the adventure people than the Remco monsters, because these have a really strong adventure people vibe. So much so, I'd have to wonder if maybe there was a designer who was involved with the adventure people who had something to do with these. Let's see if I can get his head to glow a little bit. That's too much. Yes. That's not too bad. Yeah, that kind of sells it, I guess. That's what it would have looked like in that, on that lab table, something like that. So you get the effect. It's a cool little table. I mean, everything about these things is just cool. The whole idea is cool. Oh yeah, let me show you the, did I show you this already? This is the glow in the dark sticker. So they all come with a sticker in that style, and this sticker glows in the dark. So we've seen Frankenstein, we've seen Creature, we've seen Wolfman. Now let's look at Dracula. That's Dracula in his bag. There's his coffin in there. There's Dracula's coffin. He's got his name on it. It's a nice little coffin. Can you see him in there? Yeah, not quite. And like the Wolfman, he has little pegs that his feet can stick into. So these figures, at least Frankenstein, Dracula, and Wolfman, they have holes in their feet with pegs. Creature doesn't. Does he? Don't make a liar out of me. No, Creature does not. So once again, was the Creature designed at the same time as these, or was he an add-on later? I don't know. There's Dracula in his coffin. That's what he looks like in his coffin. I mean, it's a nice little accessory, this coffin. Imagine if there was, well, there are toys like this now, but imagine today getting something like this as a freebie. I mean, you'd spend $20 easily. There's Dracula. He's not focusing. Come on, focus. There we go. It's almost focused. There we go. There's Dracula peering out of the bat hole in the little bat window in his coffin. That's a nice coffin, isn't it? Let's see how big a mess we'll make. This lid's going to go flying across the room. There we go. Is he in focus? I don't know. These things are so small, it's hard to focus on them. Yeah, he's not working out. Come on. No, it's not working. Why is it not working? Nosferatu. 1924. Nosferatu. But he leaves his cape behind. The cape pops off. He's got a hole in his back for his cape. So the cape is like another accessory, actually. All right, now let's try it without the lid. Let's do a Count Orlok. And just like the movie Nosferatu, his head is cut off. You can always tell whether a transfer of the original Nosferatu is good or bad by looking at that shot. Is his head cut off? If it is, then it's a rotten version. Because originally, his head was not cut off. But almost every version of it cuts its head off. Because they overcrop the image. They don't know what to do with that. They don't know how to handle that. So there's Dracula. And can I retrieve his... There we got his lid. His lid survives. Quite a nice set of toys, I tell you, for freebies, for a premium, fast food premium. He's not Bela Lugosi. He's a generic Dracula. Now, Creature is listed down there. There's the glow-in-the-dark sticker. I don't think you're going to get this kind of quality for $1.99 and be fed along with it. I hope I'm right about that price. Maybe that was the price of just the figure themselves. Maybe if you just bought the figure alone. Because that seems awfully cheap. That's the information I have is $1.99 for those meals. That just seems awfully cheap. So I don't know if that's completely accurate or not. It was probably in that commercial we showed, but I don't... You saw it recently. I haven't seen it in a while. You just saw it. I haven't. What else can we say about these? Well, these were the first quality Universal Monsters toys, really well-made Universal Monsters toys in a long time. We had the Pleco Monsters, but those were kind of clunky. And we had the Imperial Monsters, and those are lovable, they're charming, but they were kind of clunky. These were the first really well-made Universal Monsters toys since the Remcos, the big and small Remcos. There hadn't been a really sober, seriously designed series of Universal Monsters toys since the early 80s. Yeah, I mean, the Plecos are okay, but I think these are better toys than the Pleco Monsters. And the Plecos were like this big vinyl, I think also had 5 points of articulation, and they came in black boxes, and we've had those on the show too. In 1992, White Castle put out 3 Universal Monsters figures, and they were licensed. They made Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy. And I do have those, but I can't find them. I've looked all over the basement. I've opened up mini boxes, and I don't know where they are. I've got them, but I don't know where they are. If I ever find them, maybe I'll figure out a way to get them into a future episode. You wouldn't be able to... It wouldn't be very interesting to see them anyway, because the 3 I have are sealed in bags, and unlike these, they don't have a lot of detail. They're very soft detail. They're one solid color, kind of a pastel color. They're sort of like a squishy vinyl. They're jointed at the waist, so they can swivel at the waist, and that's it. And they almost look like bath toys, or, I don't know, maybe dog toys or something like that. They almost look like a bathtub toy or a preschool toy or something. They're nothing like this, And hopefully I'll figure out where they are one of these days, and you can see them. They're very crude, rudimentary, not a lot of detail. The only paint on them is their eyes and their mouth, and everything else is just solid color. And those were 1992, so there had been other Universal Monsters fast food premiums before these. There was that White Castle set, but that was so different. These are obviously on a different level. These are pretty serious action figures. Those were sort of like, trinkets. But you can't say these were first, because the White Castle did it first with those sort of squishy vinyl glow-in-the-dark monsters. NECA last year put out a tribute set mimicking these Burger King monsters. They were the same ultimate action figures that NECA has put out many times before, just a different color. There might have been some new sculpts on the heads. I don't know. I don't have those. I didn't buy those. But NECA every year, it seems, puts out some variant on those Universal Monsters figures that they released originally some years ago. They did an Imperial set modeled off the Imperial monsters from the 80s, and those did have some unique head sculpts, but they were mostly just a different paint scheme. And that's what the Burger King ones were as well. They were just different colors. I don't know if perhaps they did a different head sculpt maybe for Dracula or something, I'm not sure. But mainly it was just different colors, and they came in a box that looked like the counter display for these that you would have seen at Burger King, that would have been on the counter at Burger King. Unfortunately, I don't have that counter display. I don't have the kids meal box. I don't have any promotional material for any of this stuff. I just have the figures themselves. And it would be kind of nice to have some of that other stuff, some of the other ephemera connected to these, since I have these. It'd be kind of cool, especially I gotta have at least one of those Kids Club boxes, because they do look, I've seen pictures of them, they look nice, so I want to get one of those. Let's clear these off and then go on to the next line. And here is the next set of toys we're going to look at. These are the Jack-in-the-Box monsters. They are licensed Universal monsters from 1999. So we've gone from 97 to 99. I'm sure Jack-in-the-Box was inspired by the great success of the Burger King monsters. And by all accounts, that promotion was a big success for Burger King. And this must have been a big success for Jack-in-the-Box because they did another one a couple years later. So here we are with this new series of monsters. And these were in a special meal called Jack's Kids Meal. Jack's Kids Meal. They were not in a box like the Burger King ones. They were in a bag. And the bag had a pretty nice looking Glenn Strange style Frankenstein on one side. On the other side of the bag, there were word puzzles and mazes with Universal Monsters illustrations. So it was a nice bag, but it was just a bag. It wasn't a box. And I don't know what the food assortment was inside the bag, but each one came with one of these monsters. Again, this was Halloween season, 1999. Jack-in-the-Box. Even though the meals were called Jack's Kids Meal, the restaurant was still called Jack-in-the-Box. It went through some changes over the years. It was Monterey Jack's for a while. But the time when these came out, it was Jack-in-the-Box. And they had the Jack mascot with the big clown head and the business suit. They were already doing that campaign, that ad campaign. When I was a kid, Jack-in-the-Box had the old style clown, the more funky looking clown head on a box, a Jack-in-the-Box, and you drive up to the drive-thru and you see the silly clown. And that was something to look forward to for a kid. That it was like the clown was talking to you. And I remember I loved the egg sandwich at Jack-in-the-Box. That was my favorite thing. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a fried egg and I guess like Canadian bacon or something. I don't know, on a bun. I loved that as a kid. And of course, I liked the tacos. Jack-in-the-Box had unique tacos, and I guess they still do, fried tacos. So that was what I liked as a child. When I went to Jack-in-the-Box, that's the stuff I wanted. And they served, I think even back then, they do now, but even back then, I think they served breakfast all day. Anything on the menu was available all day. Then they had, they went through, that company has gone through so many different permutations. But at one point, they blew up the Jack-in-the-Box mascot.
Waste them.
They had a commercial ad campaign where they literally blew it up. And they tried to change their image. It didn't work. And then they brought that CEO Jack, so he had the big round head from the old days, but he had a business suit. And he blew up the board of directors. So when they reintroduced this Jack character in the commercials, he, with a bomb, a detonator in his hand, he blew up the board of directors to show that he's taking control of his company again.
Today, thanks to the miracle of plastic surgery, I'm back and ready to make Jack-in-the-Box better than ever.
He was like a ruthless, I think this was still in the 80s or maybe it was early 90s, but this was like like the movie Wall Street, Greed is Good, that kind of culture. It was reflecting that. And this was like a corporate shark. This is a ruthless Jack with his, that's why he had like a suit. He was a CEO, he was a businessman. He meant business, he wasn't cute anymore. And they still have that character, and they've used him now for more than 30 years. I don't know, at least 30 years, I would think. And he's still the mascot, and it's still the same characterization. So they had him in place when this promotion was going on. They had already reintroduced him. And here, there's the character. There's his head. Can you see it? Sort of. There he is. So Jack's Kids Meal. Everything was marketed as Jack's this, Jack's that. Like all the ideas were coming out of this clown CEO, this clown-headed CEO. It was all his ideas. And he had a staff that in the commercials were always like, hey, that's a good idea, that's a good idea, that's a good idea. Always trying to please him and agree with him. So this is for Jack's Kids Meal. And the packages look like this. They're bigger than the Burger King ones. Ages 3 and up. It's hard to see anything in there. This is Frankenstein. I like the Burger King packaging better. It's a better presentation. And we have an open one. Same idea. You have this chair like Bride of Frankenstein when he's chained to that chair. He's taken prisoner. The Frankenstein monster is arrested, basically, and chained up in this chair. He doesn't stay there very long. He gets loose. And like the Burger King one, it's got this little light. But it doesn't light up anymore. Yeah. But it's the same idea. I don't think these were designed by the same people because they don't look the same. They have a different aesthetic. The way they're put together is different. They're not as good. They're more crude. They're not as proportioned. But someone was copying somebody's homework because look at that. Very similar. Same idea with a translucent head. But not translucent hands. But you see how the body is all out of proportion? It's not as slick, it's not as professional as the Burger King versions. I don't think there's any information to be gleaned on the toys themselves, at least not on this. How about here? Universal copyright, manufactured for Jack in the Box restaurants, made in China. PPW, made in China / PPW. What's PPW? Does anyone out there know what PPW stands for? Made in China / I guess that's PPW, yeah. I wonder if that's the initials for a company. Maybe a design company. That'd be interesting. Well, this little Frankie, he's more articulated. Instead of 5 points, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah. 9 points for articulation. On this show, we never talk about points of articulation. That's for those other shows. But it's worth noting just so you know what kind of toys you're looking at here. And he's articulated that way so he can sit in this chair. That's a nice accessory. I mean, that, you know, it's Bride of Frankenstein. Not many companies that made Universal Monsters toys gave us essentially play sets like this. It's pretty cool. And let's see if we can shine light through his head like we did last time. Yeah, he looks a little different. He's pretty cool. Pretty decent Boris Karloff likeness. I don't know if it's officially a Karloff likeness. That's an interesting point. I wonder if, let's take a look. This is the little piece of paper that comes with the Jack-in-the-Box ones. And it still has the blood spatter. Still has that. Interestingly, though, look what's inside. A Sideshow advert. Sideshow toys. Shredders. Now, what's that doing in there? Did Sideshow have something to do with these toys? They don't look like Sideshow, like something Sideshow would design. They don't look like that. Yeah, so this Frankenstein does not have a Karloff Enterprises copyright. It's just Universal. However, the head, look at that head. It doesn't have that translucent head in the artwork of this photograph. It has a painted head. So that's a prototype. Oh, that's interesting. And that's all there is in here. There's no glow-in-the-dark sticker or anything like that. It's not as fancy as the Burger King figures. As we're going to see, they're not in scale with each other. So that's Frankenstein. This is Wolfman. I think you can already see that he's a little different. He comes in this little holder like that. Ah, there we go. Is he praying? He makes noise. Does he still make noise? I'd be shocked if he does. No, he doesn't. So that's the action feature. If you push his arms down, he would make noise. And it looks like his arms have some posability. Maybe I just broke them. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think they're supposed to. I think it's unintended there. Well, yeah, the arms do have a little posability, actually. So, yeah, so he could be like this. Like he's doing push-ups. He's pounding on the table. Where's my dinner? But when he was new and his batteries worked, he howled. He went, arr, 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 arr. But that was a long time ago. So yeah, the arms are posable, actually. Kind of. I don't know if... No, the legs are not. And he doesn't have any... Well, he doesn't have a sticker or anything. Full Moon Howl. The packaging, it's not as interesting as the Burger King ones, certainly. You know, the Burger King series is more of an experience. Just the box, the package, opening it up, the stuff you get inside, the sticker. Let's wait on Mummy. Now, we saw this. This is a Phantom of the Opera. So that's the new character here. Well, Mummy's new too, but this is the one you wouldn't expect would be the Phantom of the Opera. Let's pull him out. Here's a little card. I showed you this on our Andrew Lloyd Webber episode. This is a harmonica, and I'm not going to blow on it. This Phantom looks like the Claude Rains Phantom. At least the mask does. Well, actually, the mask looks like the Cheney mask, sort of, kind of. Yeah, he does kind of look like the Cheney mask, just without the fabric hanging down on the bottom. Can I get him to focus? Yeah, he's kind of a cross between the Cheney Phantom and the Claude Rains Phantom. But you can't see his face. And he doesn't do anything. He's just sitting there at his organ. But it's a nice little display piece. Let's look at Creature. Very different from the other Creature we saw. He's not translucent. He's kind of wobbly, but he's not translucent. Very different sculpt, different approach. The arms do bend. The legs don't. Oh. He doesn't twist at the waist. The waist comes apart like that. He's Inspector Gadget Creature. He's going out of focus. It's hard to focus on these little things. That's one of the reasons I don't do a lot of little stuff on the show, because you can't focus on it. But the idea is you put him under water, do that, and then he'd collect water in there, and then if you take him out of the water, you go like this, and he squirts out the mouth. Just like the other one, he squirts out the mouth, but it's a different mechanism. And it's a more crude mechanism. I mean, the other one's got a button that you push. It's better designed. This one's kind of weird, pulling him up by the waist like that. That's the artwork. He looks neat in that picture. Sea Squirter? Is that what it says? Yes, Sea Squirter. Submerges the creature figure in water and slowly pulls legs away from the upper body to fill up with water. Once full, quickly push down on the upper body to send a jet of water shooting from his mouth. So we've got two creature toys where he squirts water out his mouth. Why not? Could have had a wind-up swimming action, but maybe that would have been too complicated. Let's look at Dracula. For some reason, I got 3 Draculas. There's Dracula in his bag. Sealed in his bag. Then I have 2 loose ones. I don't think there's any difference between them. There's one loose one. And then here's one in a bag. So let's look at this one. He's a little shinier because he hasn't been exposed to the dust. He's plotting something. See, he's got a nice shiny cape. Ha 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 ha. And because he's so shiny, let's put him back in there and look at the not so shiny one. And we'll demonstrate that one. Yeah, so this one's a little bit used. I guess I've sort of played with him, I guess, back then. I don't know. What is his action feature? That's it. He's like tough guy. Bruiser, enforcer, Dracula. You've been late with your payments. Now he's going to have to rough you up. Yeah, you want a piece of this? What in the world? It reminds me of that Toy Biz Lex Luthor with the fist that hits himself in the head. Why would they think Dracula would do that? That makes no sense. That's why they're cute. All these things are cute, but just the action feature. That's not what Dracula does. He doesn't act like he's going to beat you up. Well, this one does, but that's not what you expect. Maybe you'd have a feature where he flings his cape up like that or something, but no, it's this. Here's the Mummy. I've got 3 mummies for some reason. There's his sarcophagus. And that does look like the Universal Studios Karloff mummy sarcophagus. There he is in there. And that does look like Imhotep in his sarcophagus from the original Mummy movie. And I like how his legs are like that. Because in the original Mummy movie, when you see the Karloff mummy, you never see how he goes for a little walk. You see his upper torso, and you see him kind of come to life, and then you see his arm in one shot, and then I think you see his bandages going out the door. But in the long shot, when you see him, he hasn't come to life yet, his legs are all bandaged up. So how is he walking? Well, this kind of reveals his bandages are coming loose around his legs so that he can walk, which is probably why you don't see it in the movie, because that would not look so great. But I do wish you saw more of the walking mummy in the Karloff Mummy movie, the original Mummy. His action feature is he walks. Let's open this one up. I doubt very much that I'm going to be able to make this work. We'll see. Maybe he'll walk on that. I don't know. This is never going to work. All right, so you've got to wind him up with this because it's going to engage with that little knob. All right. Okay. Now, when I say okay, you got to drink, it still applies. All right, let's see if he walks. Almost. There he goes. Ah. Come on your feet, Mummy. Let's see some action. Okay, well, I guess that's all we're going to see from him. Well, he worked a little bit, kind of, sort of. That's his little insert. And I did, which one's which? I did try the other one, and it didn't work at all. Yeah, the other one did not work at all. I don't know if I put the right one in there or not, but whatever. So that's the Jack in the Box 1999. No, yes, 1999 series. Now let's take these away and we'll look at our final set of monster toys. Here we are. We have arrived at the final set of fast food premiums that we're going to look at today. There was another set after this, and we'll mention that later, but this is the last one we're going to look at today. These are the second series Jack in the Box monsters from 2002. It's still Universal Studios licensed. A lot of people don't even know these exist, or they get them mixed up with the series we just saw. This set is much more obscure than the previous set, and certainly more than the Burger King set. And I don't have any of these opened up, so we're going to open them. We'll have one opened up. So we're going to open these in order to look at them. First, let's look at this. I do have an opened example of this one, the Phantom. I have 3 Phantoms. How did that happen? That's what they look like in their bags, very much like the last set we saw. I have 2 bagged sealed Phantoms and 1 that's not. Again, this is 2002, so a couple years after the previous one, and a few years after the 97 Burger King ones. Here's the Phantom. This time he's properly Lon Chaney Sr., and you can see he's playing hockey. He's hockey playing Phantom. No, that's not what he is. He's not supposed to be playing hockey. He comes with a gondola. And it's another one of those. Is this a wind-up thing? I don't think it winds up. I don't know. So here is his gondola. How does he do this? Like this. It's got to be like this. Does he snap in there? Is it going to fall over? Yeah, so that's what he looks like in his gondola. And it has wheels on the bottom. And I think the idea is that as you push it along, the Phantom wobbles like he's rowing it. But he also wobbles when you're just trying to hold it in your hand. So if I'm not careful, he's going to fall right off of here. Again, as a display piece, it's pretty good. I mean, it's a nice little, if you're a Phantom fan, you would have this on your desk maybe. That'd be pretty neat. There's no articulation there. Is there? No. He doesn't move at all. He's purely for display purposes. But he's a nice little Phantom. He's a cute little Phantom. I like his purple lining. He is pretty cool. He doesn't do anything, but he's pretty cool. I mean, I guess he does do something. Theoretically, he wobbles when his gondola gets pushed along. But the gondola doesn't wind up or anything. You have to just sort of push it. And then this wobbly Phantom, I guess, sort of moves, kind of shakes. But if I try to do that, he's going to shake right off it onto the floor. It's time to start cutting these open. Is there any difference in the condition here? Not really. This is Wolfman. Oh boy, we're gonna open a toy. We're gonna open a toy. I guess, aren't we? Just opened a sealed toy. Bum, 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 bum. It's like a miniature version of the other one. It's like the same toy, just smaller. And a different sculpting style. He's got this on the back. So he's supposed to make a sound. Let's see. Okay, we just pulled it out. Surprise, surprise, he does not. He does not make a sound. Here is the little insert. Does it open up? Seems like it would. Yeah, it does. Oh, this is interesting. That's what the insert looks like. My gear is starting to self-destruct, so I need to move this along. So there's Wolfman. Let's look at Mummy. Any difference between these? I'll open this one. Here's what Mummy looks like in the package. Now we're going to just cut this one open. Doesn't look, he looked comfy in there. Ready for bed. Another nice looking sarcophagus. I mean, this is even nicer than the other one. That's actually very nice. Let's see what he looks like in there. Oh. It opens like this. He slides open and you see him in there. And I think, yeah, he's not whole. So I think I get what's going on here. So here's the sarcophagus right here. You know, slide it open. And I think he's going to come up. There we go. He looks very similar to the other one. Very similar. But there's only half of them. That's all there is. Have you ever seen the Monsters Crash the Pajama Party DVD? there's a menu screen that's kind of like that. There's something like a body rising up like that out of a, I don't know if it's out of a coffin or what, but that's what that reminds me of. Not a lot of play value, so I'm getting a theme here that these are more about the action feature. They're not action figures. They have an action feature. But they don't have a lot of play value. It's kind of, I was talking about a toy. Was it a battery operated toy? Oh, it was the Fun Stuff Monsters. So I was talking about the Fun Stuff Monsters, the Dracula and Frankenstein, a few episodes ago, and I remember saying, as cool as those things are, once you do the action feature and you have it expand and burst out of its coffin or a lab table or whatever, how many times are you going to do that if you're a kid? If that's it, then you want to kind of use it like a doll, basically. But with that mummy, when there's only half of a mummy, you can't really do much with it. Okay, this one's dusty, so I'm going to open that one. This is Frankenstein. This one's kind of dusty, so I'll open that. You don't see me opening sealed toys very often on this show. Here's his card. They all have the same assortment on the other side. It's a little Frankie. All these are kind of small. There's Frankie. He's cute, but he's not like the Karloff Frankensteins that we've been seeing. This is more like a Super 7 Frankenstein. That's more like what Super 7 would do. Still has that green jacket. And I guess he winds up. And he has that same kind of mechanism that the mummy has. I guess he walks along. I'm not going to try that again. That mummy didn't go very well. He has a stubby arm. But it's kind of neat that he's got red scars around his wrists. That's cool. A little bit of detail there. But because of the action feature, I don't know. I mean, they could have made both arms extend further and still had that little knob there. But it's a weird, this whole series kind of seems like an afterthought. It's weird that for Frankenstein, the action feature would be walking. But that's what it is. And I don't, I'm not going to try to make him walk again. We've already been through that. Been there, done that. But he's a cute little Frankie. Kind of stumpy looking. A little stubby looking Frankenstein. I'll save Bride for last. We have a couple of Draculas. There's the Dracula in its package. And I'm just choosing the dustier looking of the two to open up. That's what the card looks like. Well, this is a chunky looking. What the heck is this? It's a very chunky looking coffin. It's almost like the disappearance of Lady Carfax. Is that her name? The Sherlock Holmes story where there's a oversized coffin and that's a clue in the story. What does this do? I guess it opens somehow. Check in the box. What does it say? Oh, did I show you this already? The inside, I think I forgot to show you. The inside is advertising home video. Are those DVDs? Yeah, I think it's VHS and DVD. Yeah. But mostly VHS. So they're advertising VHS tapes, but I think one of them is a DVD, but the rest are VHS. So that's the advertisement inside. Oh, this is like the strange change machine. Okay. So you open the coffin and there's Dracula. He's lying in his that's why the coffin's so thick. He's lying in that coffin. And you're supposed to, there we go. Break him? No, hopefully not. Okay, so I turned the little knob. There we go. Now he's a bat. Is it in focus? So this little knob here turns the Dracula. Sort of. There we go. So it's a lot like the, is it MPC? Or is that the right company? There's There was a strange change mummy, a strange change vampire, and a strange change time machine. These were 70s model kits. And you closed it, like the mummy, like the vampire. You closed the coffin and then opened it again. The vampire would change from a normal-looking vampire to one that had been exposed to the sun. It was like skeletal now. And the mummy would change from bandaged up mummy to one that was coming to life and had his mouth open. And the time machine one would change from a time traveler about ready to pull the levers and do his thing to a prehistoric scene with dinosaurs attacking him. And this is a lot like that. It reminds me of that. I bet that's where they got the idea. And you see that the Universal blood spatter logo is still on there. Well, this is kind of, this is the most intriguing one so far because it reminds me of those model kits. But again, you can't really play with it. It's the action feature is the whole thing. Our final one is the bride. And that's the bride. And that's a unique character. That this is the only series that has a Bride of Frankenstein. There are two that have phantoms. And does this one have a creature? I think so. Oh, I've already forgotten. I would have just shown it to you. No, there's no creature. So they've removed the creature from the lineup and replaced him with the bride. Well, but there's of the ones we've seen, there's two creatures, there's two phantoms. This is the only bride. This is the only time we're going to see the Bride of Frankenstein. And I'm going to open this one. There's the insert. There we go. I was trying to open it. Now, same old advertisement. All of them. That's the outside. What does it say about the Bride of Frankenstein? What does she do? Push the button on the back of the bride to activate her chilling cry. Well, you know that's not going to work. Let's take this little insert off. She has a button back there. Are we going to hear a little speaker? Are we going to hear a chilling cry? Let's find out. Nope. No chilling cry. It's kind of a nice bride. I mean, given the style, the format. Do her arms move? Yes, they do. Is this the only real action figure from the entire line? It might be. I don't think any of the other ones are really action figures. No. Well, the Wolfman, I guess. Yeah. So the Wolfman would be an action figure. I guess Frankenstein, even though he kind of walks, you could sort of call him an action figure, but the Wolfman is basically an action figure. I wonder if I wonder how she pairs with Frankie. You know, she looks pretty good with the Burger King one. I mean, I think she goes better with him than the one that is actually from her series. She pairs well with the Burger King one. So if you were going to display these, I would display her with this set. Because I think they go together much better than that wind-up Frankie. Let's leave these be for now. I think I'm spent. It's a long episode. Well, I mean, it had a very dramatic announcement at the beginning, and I'm sorry to spoil our fun with bad news, but I feel like I've got to announce things like that when they happen. Then Bob Burns passed away, and now when Bobby passed away, and if I pass away, who's going to announce it? I don't know. What show is going to announce when I pass away? Maybe Penny Dreadful or someone like that. I don't know. Maybe Random Land will say something. I don't know. Maybe no one. No one will notice. I'll just be down here like... Billy will be like, nibbling on me. But the cameras won't be rolling. That is our overview of fast food, Universal Monsters licensed fast food premiums. There was another similar set made by Taco Bell in 2003. And it was very similar to the Burger King. In fact, I bet that whoever designed the Burger King series from '97 also designed the Taco Bell monsters from 2003 because they look so similar in style, construction, aesthetic. And the Taco Bell series is not licensed. They're not Universal Monsters. They're generic. They're kind of like the Mego Mad Monsters series. In fact, the werewolf for the Taco Bell monsters is very canine. And some people have said that it's Hammer inspired. The Frankenstein for that set is very obviously inspired by David Prowse from the Hammer horror Frankenstein. In general, it's a kind of an oddball set. I don't own any of those. I'd like to, and I probably will eventually. The bags they come in are solid color. They're opaque, so you can't see the toy inside. But they have accessories and things, so you really... the ideal way to do it would be like I've been doing it, is to buy two, one to keep in the bag, one to open. So eventually I'll probably get that set. There's a zombie that's different, and there's a mummy that's a little more creepy looking. It's not a universal mummy. There's a generic vampire, the generic Frankenstein, generic werewolf. All of those are about $5 or $10 loose and like $20 sealed in the bags. But then there's a witch, and for some reason the witch is $120 or more. And that's loose, maybe in a bag. She might be $200, I don't know. For some reason the witch is the hard one to find. And all these were released by Taco Bell, but the witch was Taco Bell and KFC. So they did some, I mean, she's obviously from the same series, but they did some kind of a separate promotion for that witch. I don't know how that worked. I don't know a lot about that line. But kind of like Burger King, they have little dwellings that open up and they come out of, they come out of the closet. I guess that's what you could say. They have something that opens up and they come out. So they're very similar to the Burger King series. Someday maybe we'll look at those if I ever buy them. And then maybe I'll find the White Castle monsters, and then it'll be an excuse to do another episode if I can show you both of those. But for now, these are the 3 licensed Universal Monster toy lines that were offered at Burger King and Jack in the Box in the late 90s and early 2000s. It was a thing back then. It was a thing to do. And as far as I know, they were all very successful promotions and very interesting toys. I mean, the Burger King toys were probably the best Universal Monsters since the Remco figures from almost 20 years before. But then right after that, you had all the sideshow toys, and they just exploded. But these little guys, they were there at the beginning of all that, before the sideshow era, right at the beginning, right when all that was just starting. They're a cool piece of monster history, universal monster toy history. That's it. I'm going to quit before my equipment breaks down, because it's telling me it's time to quit. So I'm going to do that. So a long episode. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll be back with a few more episodes this season before we're through. We're heading towards the end, but we still have a little ways to go. So thanks for joining us. And I haven't told you to subscribe all season, have I? Not once. But here at the end of this episode, how about it? If you like this, or even if you don't like it, what the heck? Subscribe to the channel. Click on the little bell. See, I'm doing all the YouTube stuff you're supposed to do. Subscribe, click on the bell. Why not? And that'll help the channel. And like the video. That'll help the channel as well. So please do those things and join the Facebook group if you have not already. We have a Basement of Horror Facebook group. Join that, but make sure you answer the questions. Nobody does. That's why I decline everyone who tries to enter the group, because they don't answer the questions, the security questions. There's just 2 things you have to answer. 1 question to answer and 1 box to check, and almost no one does that. That's why like 9 out of 10 people who try to get in don't. They're probably all bots. But regardless whether they're real people or not, they don't get in because they don't answer the security questions. So answer the security questions. Join the group, but answer the security questions. Now that's really it. It's time to go. Thank you for watching. Until next time, the one who dies with the most toys is dead.